I just fired a $15,000 consultant, and I replaced them with an AI that works in 10 minutes. And the AI did better work than the human ever could. Here's what that means for your business. This AI did work that I literally couldn't hire a human to, even when I tried. Today we're going to test whether deep research AI agents can solve one of the most frustrating problems in industrial operations, creating maintenance procedures for decades-old equipment with incomplete records. And I'm doing this live, comparing 4 different AI platforms head-to-head. Now, I work in reliability engineering. That's keeping big facilities and their equipment running smoothly by figuring out what maintenance needs to happen and when. But this isn't just about industrial equipment. Whether you're in healthcare managing medical devices, or IT managing server infrastructure, or facilities management handling HVAC systems, the problem is the same. Incomplete documentation, missing manuals, and equipment that predates digital record keeping. And here's the thing. I've actually hired professionals to solve this problem before. 5 years ago, I paid somebody to do exactly what we're about to ask AI to do, and they couldn't deliver. So the question today is simple. Can AI do better? So my goal here is to build a prompt for an AI deep search agent. The task is going to be to take all of this information about equipment. It's very partial information that we've gathered, and it will have to put it together and use what partial information it has to, as best it can, correctly identify the equipment in question. So just in this case of this boiler, just based on this model number and this serial number, and if I can throw a photograph at it, it has to be able to use this information, search around, identify the equipment, fill in as many of these blanks in this spreadsheet for PSI, refrigeration, kilovolt amps, gallons per minute, etc. Fill in all these blanks as best as possible, and needs to then develop a maintenance procedure based on the frequency that we define in column F. So in this case, this is an annual. So once a year, the engineers are going out and they're working on this boiler and maintaining. What tasks should they perform on this boiler in order to keep it functional? What is the missing information about the boiler that we could fill in here? The task needs to be provided, or the preventive maintenance description needs to be provided in a format of 10, 20, 30 line items in increments of 10, and each line item should describe an action being taken on that piece of equipment. In this case, this example was a boiler, but I'm going to go down this whole list and catch every piece of equipment and develop a preventative maintenance procedure for it. Procedures should be easily copied and pastable into a spreadsheet. So it shouldn't be like have a step and then a bunch of description and then another step and a bunch of description. Just give me 10, 20, 30, 40 in a row, the steps, and then you can go into further descriptions later. Also, I need you to try to locate a operations manual for this equipment in question and give me the URL to a PDF of it if you can find it. Now, one of the downsides is that AI does tend to hallucinate. So sometimes if I give it partial information about a boiler and it can't figure out what manufacturer it is or what anything about it like that, then it will often start making stuff up. And I don't want it to do that. I need to tell it to just be okay with telling me that it couldn't locate the boiler or find any records of this boiler or any maintenance procedures. So that's the task at hand. Now, being the fundamentally lazy and perhaps more onerous AI capitalist that I am, I'm just going to take a transcribed version of what I just said and paste it into Claude. I'm going to say, hey, Claude, please take these instructions and develop a prompt for a deep research agent. I am also going to upload a copy of the spreadsheet that I refer to in this so that you can see what I'm talking about and craft your prompt more professionally. All right, we take the updated cup schedule 2 here and we let it get to work. And now Claude's done. And it really took its sweet time. It took about 10 minutes. Claude does a really good job, in my opinion, of putting together these prompts that I have it do. I never write my own prompts anymore. Even if I write my own prompt, I throw it into an AI and I have it improve it. I give it web search, drive search, and I let it do extended thinking in order to try to get the best prompt I can. So here it is. One of the things you have to do with AI, I found that it actually helps to say, don't hallucinate. Surprisingly, it actually listens to that and it learns not to hallucinate, but only when specifically instructed to. So we have source quality standards. And it really goes through, it tells you exactly how to do it, gives an example of what this should look like, what the output should look like, an example of incorrect format. Boy, this is great. What's the formatting of the output specifically? Special cases and guidance, very old equipment. Wow, this is beautiful. All right. Now, we're going to try this in a few agents. I use Claude for the prompts. Claude has a deep research functionality here. I find that when I use the deep research, this is good for real projects. Like, I don't know, if you want to report on how a boiler works, then Claude could find that and put it together. And it will spend an hour or two sometimes just reading through source material, finding hundreds of sources, and putting together something you can really rely on. That's not what we're doing here. We don't want to go to that level of depth. We don't need that kind of output. So we're not going to test Claude. We're going to test Perplexity, my old favorite. So here's the prompt. I'm going to test GenSpark. We're going to test Gemini Deep Research, and we're going to test Manus. And we're not going to test Google News. Okay. Now I'm only going to have it work on one piece of equipment. So I just want to work on this boiler. Now 33029, there is an image of 33029. Okay, so we filtered it down to this one piece of information. Copy a merge cell? What kind of nonsense is that? Okay, so first, I'm going to say, here is the information on the equipment you will be researching. You'll be researching asset 33029 in the attached spreadsheet. Okay, so the prompt's all set up. I uploaded an image of the asset data that we have. Only thing left is to upload the image. All right, so we're going to set Perplexity working, and it's off to the races. And we're uploading to GenSpark, and set Gemini to work, and there goes Manus. And now we wait patiently for all of these AIs to do their deep research. All right, it's been about 10 minutes, and gave me a chance to walk around the office, drink a little water, come back. We're getting our first results out. So here is Perplexity. Did research. This boiler was actually installed. It wasn't installed in 2018. It's incorrect about that. It was actually installed in the 1960s, but it was updated in 2018. Now it's taking the model number. We didn't give it a manufacturer name, but it's looking at the model number. It's taking what information it has and it's breaking it down. So it's saying, look, it gets the 720 MBH. Based on the 720 designation in the model number, it figures out the 720 and this exceeds residential Century series. So that's correct. It was right about that. It was able to break down the model number and get the fuel type based on the lines G, which indicates gas. It figured out that it's for HVAC. Very good. It's really digging into that model number and it's basing everything on that. Now, it doesn't have any documentation to prove that, but it goes by industry standards. It did not find an operations manual. It came up with a procedure, lockout, tagout boiler. According to lockout, tagout, de-energizing the boiler so that you don't burn yourself or electrocute yourself. Allow it to cool, documented photograph. This is great. Low water cutoff float chamber. Okay, so it gave me the procedure. Although it didn't give it in 10, 20, 30. It started 10, 11, 12, but we could fix that. And this is based on, tells me where it's basing these procedures on. What this is really telling me is I need to go back out there and take more pictures of this boiler to get a better idea of what it's working on. So this is something I can work with. Let's see what the others came up. GenSpark is still going. Okay, so Google Gemini's deep research gave me an executive summary. It's coming up with the 720 boiler horsepower. So this is also interesting. And this is interesting about the Perplexity version. It went back through and it calculated how much steam it's making based on temperature settings. Now, Google Gemini also came up with an official maintenance procedure. Do lockout, tagout, isolations, perform general inspection, etc. Okay, so basically these don't have enough information to go on. Now, Manus came out with a report. It did not create a maintenance procedure as I told it to. What I thought was interesting about Manus, though, was that it actually looked at the displays. So let me see if I can find the picture here. So what it was doing that the others did not do is that it actually started looking at the numbers and the names on these displays, gas inlet, gas outlet, water, and it was able to figure out that this is a gas boiler and some of its capacity just by reading off of all these gauges. I thought that was pretty fascinating. That was amazing. Unfortunately, it didn't come up with an actual maintenance procedure for it, but it got further than any other AI did in identifying the equipment. Okay, so this is on a piece of equipment that's poorly identified. I would say in this case, Perplexity, I default to Perplexity. Really, GenSpark, Gemini was very competitive. You could have gone with either. I would say that the procedure as I've read it looks a little bit more professional industry standard. Let's try Perplexity on a piece of equipment that we have decent information about. Okay, now we're trying with the boiler pumps. And in this case, these boiler pumps serve this boiler to keep the water moving through it. But in this case, I have much better photos and I have much, much better information. So I have motor frame, I have the horsepower of these motors, and the RPM, serial numbers, etc. So I expect that this is going to give me a somewhat better out, more exact. It's going to be better at locating which pumps these are. Okay, and it's done, and it seems to have come up with a reasonable output, although I have to go out into the field and check this. But anyway, I can go through the whole list like this and just start developing maintenance procedures, at least as a starting point based on this output. And then I'm going to go talk to the site manager and the maintenance manager there, and we're going to go over this and get it down to exactly what procedures they're doing now, make sure we're not missing anything. Now, the question here is, why is this important? Why did I take the time to make this video? Because 5 years ago, I actually hired someone to do this work for me. And I hired them to come through, look at all of our equipment, find maintenance procedures, everything they could on all of this equipment. And they really couldn't come up with very much. They give us very generic procedures. They really couldn't find the actual equipment. And these are professionals. These are people who do this for a living for their entire lives. So I'm pretty impressed that AI isn't just able to do it faster than I could ever dream of doing the work. It isn't just able to do better work than I could do. It's doing work that I couldn't do ever, and I couldn't hire someone to do. And this is really where things are moving, into a realm where AI is taking over all of the tedious and now impossible work and freeing us up to do what we do best, which is actually talking to the technicians, meeting with people, looking at the equipment itself, doing our human specialties and letting AI take care of the grunt work. So if you like this, I'd appreciate it if you give us a like, and go check out aicapitalist.biz, which is where I'm putting all this information. Keep it real and stay safe.
This content is for informational and educational purposes only. Nothing in this video constitutes financial, investment, legal, or tax advice. Viewers should not act or refrain from acting based on any information presented without consulting a qualified professional who understands their individual circumstances. While efforts are made to ensure accuracy, no guarantee is given as to completeness or timeliness. All examples and demonstrations are illustrative and not endorsements of any specific strategy, service, or product. Use of the information presented is at your own risk.